But what about the educated youth who know, who understand, who think, and in spite of that, they get sucked into this entire propaganda. They believe it.
Now, with respect to the educated youth that we are talking about, see, most of the information that has come to us right now, there are alleged suspects.
Okay.
Or alleged sympathizers.
Okay.
There's still a lot to go through the process of law, and then we can ascertain for sure whether they were really involved or not. That's still a question mark.
Very true. Yes. As of now, they're alleged.
We need to wait for.
But what about the
verdict.
ones who have? I'm talking about the educated ones who have.
Like for instance, we know of one case, a person called Mutiur Rahman, some years ago.
Yes.
He was arrested. And on the similar lines, he was arrested, and the names were different. Say, for if not ISIS, it was Indian Mujahideen, and all of these things. But after 2 years, he was acquitted.
Okay.
This is not one case. There are many cases that I can talk of.
Okay.
There's one case in Bijapur, Dr. Shan.
Yes.
He was arrested, and he was kept for about 3-4 years, and again he was released.
True.
One more person, Samir, just about a few years ago.
Many of the others in the past few years, they were convicted and later on released. So you believe that more integration is necessary now into the society, mainstream?
As Mr. Sunil rightly said, we need to have platform to share our thoughts.
Okay.
So that's primarily very much required. You know, what am I thinking about ISIS?
Okay.
Or do I call them as ISIS? I call them as NISIS because they are non-Islamic state for me. Now, why do I have to agree that they are Islamic state? Now, when I say ISIS, then I'm agreeing with them. So I say it's NISIS. Is non-Islamic state. So that's my perspective.
Okay.
So there are scholars who have denounced time and again in Indian subcontinent, be it Sunni, be it Shia, be it Ahlul Hadith, or any of these factions within the Indian subcontinent, they have denounced time and again. And all those who are, subscribing to the school of thought, they would obey their leaders. And yes, all those who are vagabonds, they are away from the Jamaats and they are away from the scholars and the, from their sermons. And they think that I can learn the religion all by myself. Then he becomes a prey. He's the one who is moving away from the flock. And he becomes the one who's the target, the perfect target. Because he doesn't have anybody to guide him.
Al-Qaeda opened a separate branch known as the AQIS, the Al-Qaeda Indian Subcontinent. Keeping in mind that, yes, there are, it's a very, very fertile ground. The youth are getting radicalized and it's easier now in India, especially in the past 1 year. That's what is the big question. Why is that? What has happened? What has changed?
I mean, that's your report as for what you have studied, saying that the numbers are increasing. But we, from our community, we can feel rest assured that that is not true. Okay. Because we are seeing, with our own physical body, with our eyes, and we are seeing who are coming and what is the community that we are dealing with. We don't see that kind of radical youth in our community.
But do they ask you questions on what's happening over there in Iraq and Syria? Do they come? Do the youth actually ask, or do you see them talking among themselves?
See, there is a sense of brotherhood for sure. If somebody is killed in Iraq, or if somebody is killed in Syria, there is a sense of brotherhood. Someone from our community is dying.
Yes.
You feel the pain.
Yes.
But the problem is the Muslims are fighting themselves. Which party to help? And what's the point of we going and fighting there for anybody in the land where the Muslims are fighting themselves?
True.
So there is something missing. It is not just to feel for the community.
Okay.
Why would anybody wants to go and fight somebody who he feels he's part of his brotherhood?
Very true.
So there's something else which is actually pulling the youth, if at all. If the youth is being sucked into this, then there's something beyond this element of being religious alone. There's something else that we need to look into.
Very true. On the 8th, 9th or 10th of January, and the intervening nights over there, a Maulvi himself was caught because he has been kept under surveillance for the past few years. If I'm right, even Tilak Nagar police station had registered a case for coming out with hate speeches, for recordings and all that. So, it's very confusing when he said that everyone has, because not everyone has. There have been good and black. You have the white and the black sheep in every community. But yes, he does have a point. The portrayal of the Muslim community has to change. So your opinion on this?
See, basically when you put across this issue of the Maulvi, who was actually taken by the Delhi police, that person, he had the element of giving speech with an element of hatred, so that in itself is a different subject. He used to talk about something, about a politician or about a movie actor and about something in openness, but that is a different offense in itself. That and terrorist act together, we cannot club these two together. And what I want to say is that I don't disagree with the fact that the gentleman, he said that there's so much of work in the cyber world, wherein they're trying to tune up the youth by, emotionally pulling them towards their thoughts.
Very true.
But at the same time, what I want to say, that's the poison. We agree that there's so much of poison in the internet. But at the same time, I want to say there's so much of antidote. The scholars from whom we are referring to, they are time and again guiding the youth by giving the required information from the teachings of the Quran and from the teachings of the Prophet.
Is this happening online also?
Absolutely.
Not just at Friday sermons, but is this also happening by the scholars online?
Yes, so much of information is there, including our own websites, discoverislam.co.in.
Okay.
We have so much of literature which talks about, what are the things that are dragging our community towards negativity
But will the
and all
youth
that.
go over there? The youth are on chat rooms, the youth are on Facebook, the youth are on Twitter.
The same youth who want to refute the ISIS or the ISIS,
Okay.
they're also there in the chat room.
Okay.
There are people who refute these kind of thoughts, these kind of, inhuman thinking. See, the basic thing is when no scholars acknowledge one group, then who is the one who's going to acknowledge? As far as we as a community, you have the leaders in every community. You have the pastors or the fathers and preachers, and you have the Swamijis, gurus and all that. So if no Maulvi is supporting this thinking, then from where would they want to buy this thought? So there's something, it's only that those people who go away from the connection of the decorum of how to be in a civilized society, when they move away from this, that's where they become a prey. And that can happen to any community for that matter.
Very true.
The production values on Mr. Shariff's website won't be as good as the ISIS channel, because they are really professional. Just go and look at their magazine. Just look at their various video material. It is made as if it comes out from a Hollywood studio. It is produced as if it's the best. No, I've seen these things. I've seen these. Because taking somebody to the law comes with very, very serious consequences. You should do that only when you're totally sure that the person has been radicalized. Till that point, you should extend the benefit of doubt. You should try and use your relationship with that person to de-radicalize the person, because the police might not be the best agency to do that.
Very true. The last word to you, sir.
Yeah, with respect to the radicalization itself, I have personally gone to the police and given many complaints with respect to cyber crimes, and I have found success there. Success rate is pretty high, wherein not necessarily from the Muslim community, it can be from anyone. Say anything which can trigger emotions to the extent that you are violating the human rights, the basic human rights, and that is a crime in itself.
Yes.
And to be very frank, that is not done only by the youths. It is done by those who are wearing, white and white, like the politicians. There are a lot of people who do that. So we need to identify, irrespective of where they're coming from.
True.
We need to look at the crime as a crime, and let's all work together. That's my sense
Most important.
of,
yes.
Let's work together as a community for this country. We all have to join hands, and we have to think of developing this country, and this country cannot develop when any community is being marginalized or polarized. We have to be together. We have to win confidence.